Hi, I'm Mitch Shoemaker, and today is day 96. Oh my gosh, 96 days of doing YouTube videos. So, yay, I have like 4 days after this. Super excited. Okay, super excited. I can't believe I made it this far. Saying I've done 96 days in a row of YouTube videos is just, it's incredible for me. Maybe for some people this is easy, but for me it's difficult. Um, but I'm grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for the things that I've learned that I can look back over. And I am grateful for today. I got up and took my friend to the airport today. And then I went to work for a few hours. And then I randomly remembered that I had a counseling appointment this afternoon, which is hilarious because I wasn't really thinking about that. It just kind of popped into my head. So I'm pretty sure it's a God thing saying, hey, remember you have this appointment. And I'm like, oh yeah, it would probably be nice to talk to my counselor today. So I obviously left work and came home and had a nice session. Very helpful. Was feeling very tired. I've been very tired. I know I told that to you guys. And I even told her, I'm like, I literally could not get out of bed for like 3 days. And she was like, it sounds like, a little bit of chronic fatigue. And then she mentioned that tired is like a coping mechanism, could be a coping mechanism. She's like, did you use that as a coping mechanism? I'm like, yep, probably. And then I started bringing up a lot of childhood memories, random ones. They didn't feel like they were horribly traumatic ones, but maybe they were a little bit traumatic. They were just things in my life that weren't explained to me, or stupid things that I did because I thought it was cool at the time, or I thought it was a means to get attention. And I was like, man, I had some serious messed up thinking back then, because that's not cool. That's not a way to get attention. But I think I was just desperate for attention, so I would do whatever I needed to get attention, or whatever I thought would get me attention. So that's a little bit scary, crazy to think, look back on, realize, whatever. um, but grateful I don't do those things anymore. But I was also grateful for a comment my counselor made about my having, chronic fatigue or being tired all the time. Um, and having that as a possible coping mechanism, because that was how I coped. That's how I dealt with my life growing up. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. I get sent to my room, or I'd hide out in my room and I just lay in my bed and daydream until I would fall asleep. And if I couldn't sleep, if I was restless, I would just lay there and create stories in my head, which is why I have all these stories, so I can be a cool little writer. But I wasn't active. I wasn't out walking around. I wasn't doing things. I wasn't involved in things. I wasn't, didn't have a lot of friends. Whatever. I was always tired in my room. My sleep was always being disturbed. So anyway, it was kind of, it was, sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional, but I think I'm going to anyway. So I hope that's okay with you guys today. But anyway, she mentioned how frustrating it must be to be tired all the time. And then she said that it must be really hard for me to be motivated to do anything. And I know that sounds really, I'm not trying to complain about it. I felt really grateful that she said that, because it just validated for me the way that I've been feeling. And it made my lack of motivation, I guess it put a reason behind why I'm not motivated all the time, behind why I'm tired all the time. The reason I struggle so much to do things. And it made it so, I guess it gave me a different perspective, so that I don't feel like I'm a bad person or there's something wrong with me because I'm not motivated to do things. I'm not motivated to do things because I'm emotionally exhausted, and that emotional exhaustion turns into physical exhaustion, and then I don't take care of myself. I don't eat healthy. I gained a ton of weight. So then I have even less energy, and I've spiraled into this negative cycle of things, which is really hard to come back out of. And of course, she was talking about all these things that I could do to try to push the trauma back down so that I could function. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't want to push it back down. I want it to all come up and get out of my system. I want it to go away, because I don't want to keep having cycles of chronic fatigue in my life. I don't want to keep struggling to wake up, to function, to follow through with my goals. I don't want it to be this hard. But I realized that if I'm going to feel all of those emotions, bring up all of those past things, that I have to feel them, that I have to process them. And that's going to be really, really hard. And I'm like, man, I can go back to pushing everything down, but it's going to keep randomly popping up and interrupting my life. Or I can spend the next several months or years going through all of the stuff that keeps popping up until I get most of it out of my system so that the older stuff that does pop up isn't going to be as severe. And even some of the stuff that came up towards the end, I'm like, it was little things. Like the first time I realized I was allergic to cats, and nobody bothered to tell me I was allergic to cats. They just, acted like I was in trouble or something. I felt like I was in trouble or something because I came in the house because we were visiting my great aunt and uncle. We called her my auntie instead of great aunt. But anyway, my auntie was inside and she took one look at me and she was like, I'm going to go get your mom. And I was like, what? I just asked for a drink of water. I'm thirsty. And I was rubbing my eyes because they were itching a little bit. I didn't realize my eyes were like all poofy and swollen because I was playing with cats and I was allergic to cats because her cats had kittens and they were so cute and fun and they were crawling all over me. My mom comes out, she looks at me and she's like, okay, go take a bath. And I was like, what? She's like, you need to go take a bath right now. I'm like, well, I just wanted a drink of water. And they're like, go take a bath. So I went and I took a bath. I did, whatever. And then they gave me some medication and told me I had to take a nap. Now, at this point, I don't know how old I was, but I might have been like 9 or 10 years old. And, it was summer. It was in Idaho. It was beautiful outside. And I was like, I want to be outside playing with my brothers and sisters. I don't want to take a nap. I'm too old for naps. And they're like, no. So they gave me some medication. I'm guessing it was Benadryl or children's Benadryl or something. They must have got it from the store, done something while I was taking a bath. I don't know. Or maybe they just had it. Anyway, they just gave me the medication and told me to go to bed. So I took a nap. I didn't think I was going to fall asleep, but I did. But I was like, I didn't realize at all that would be something that would be a trigger for me, or that it would cause me to have a coping mechanism of, being tired, like something goes wrong, go take a nap. But then I wasn't allowed to go outside because they were afraid that I would play with the kittens if I went outside. So then I felt like I was being punished the rest of the time because I was stuck inside because everybody else got to go out and play except for me. And I'm like, how can you be on a farm in Idaho and not go outside and play? It's so messed up. It's so backwards. But I was grateful to have the memory and to realize as an adult that they were just doing that because I had an allergic reaction, because I was a kid that was going to go out and play with the cats and have another allergic reaction. So they were trying to protect me from myself. But the one thing they didn't do was explain to me that I had an allergy. They didn't explain to me that because of the cats, that's why my eyes were itching. That's why my throat was all scratchy and dried out. They didn't tell me that I had to take a bath to get all the cat hairs off of me. They didn't tell me they were giving me Benadryl and that the Benadryl was going to make me sleepy, and that by taking a nap, it was going to help to get all of that stuff out of my system and I would wake up and feel better. They didn't explain any of that to me because my family of origin didn't explain things. They just did things. And so me, as a kid, I looked at that situation and I felt like I was being punished for playing with cats. And then after my nap, I was told that I was allergic to cats and I wasn't allowed to go outside and play because I was allergic to cats. And I was like, well, I'll just stay away from the cats. And I guess they didn't believe me because I wasn't allowed to go back outside, which was so not fair but they were right. I probably would have gone and played with cats because I really liked cats. But that's when I learned I was allergic to cats. So I don't know why I shared that story. That's just, random convoluted story. But it was kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of comforting that it wasn't this horrible, traumatic something that I did or that happened to me in my childhood. I mean, it was, I guess, for me at the time, it felt traumatic because I felt like I was being punished for something I didn't do, and then being punished because I had an allergy or something. But it was, as an adult, I can see they were just trying to protect me. And I wish that would have been explained better to me as a child. So now I can, explain that to myself. I can process that. I can let that go. And it's a good thing. But it also is probably one of many little reasons why tired is my coping mechanism. And also why a lot of tired, because I've had a lot of surgeries. and all of that anesthetic to put you to sleep. And then I'm a light sleeper, so they don't let you sleep after you come out of the anesthesia. They make you wake up. So, make sure that you can get up and move around. I'm like, okay, I got to get up and move around when I'm tired. So I learned how to do that a lot because I had a lot of surgeries when I was growing up. I had tympanoplasties where they repaired the eardrum like 3 times. I've had wrist surgery twice. I've had knee surgery once. I've had, I don't know how many tubes I had. I had my tonsils out. I had my appendix out. I had to fix a broken nose. So I had my wisdom teeth out. I've had a lot of surgeries. So I've had a lot of that anesthetic in my body. And then, of course, I go home and I'm in pain, and the only way to sleep is with the pain medication. And then, of course, I have several siblings and parents, and trying to sleep during the day, nobody's quiet. So I had to be so tired that I could sleep through what everybody else was doing. And as soon as my body wasn't so tired to that, I would wake up to what everybody else was doing. So I wouldn't sleep for more than like 2 or 3 hours. My body wouldn't, I couldn't do it. And then something I don't think I mentioned to my counselor that I just thought of, like, I also got a concussion when I was in high school because somebody was throwing those flags, those band flags, or color guard, that have their flags that they twirl up in the air and the metal poles attached to them. Well, my friend was throwing that in the hall, and it landed on my head because she didn't catch it. And and it's a nice little concussion where it's like all you want to do is sleep, and they're like, oh, nope, you got to stay awake for like 24 hours so we can make sure that you don't, like, nothing seriously wrong. And of course, my mom was the one that just kind of took care of that. I don't even remember if we went to see the doctor about that, but I think I've had migraines and headaches and other things since then. So I'm like, and that might go back to that trauma. So it's just kind of interesting how my body responds to all of these things. Like, I'm deprived from sleep, so I have to be tired. And then I'm tired and I just want to sleep, and then I end up having chronic fatigue. I get depressed or something traumatic happens in my life, and my response is, I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm just going to sleep through it because I'm not allowed to express my emotions. I'm not allowed to talk about it. Nobody takes me seriously, so I'm just going to sleep. And maybe they didn't take me seriously when I was growing up. Maybe they didn't listen because they had their own issues. But people listen to me now. I have found people, friends, family, adopted family that do listen. But I think sometimes I still just don't speak up for myself because my trained response is to stay quiet because nobody listens, and to go to sleep, turn my head to the, to the wall or whatever, and go to sleep, to just block out everything that's happening so I can just, and that's what I do. But then I don't sleep because I'm not really physically tired. It's just the emotional tired, or it's just the emotional response feeling tired without actually having, I don't know. My brain went blank. But it's feeling tired and thinking that I'm tired, the emotional tired, carrying all of that around. And the tired, a lot of times, like, I think people get angry and there's an underlying feeling like sad or insecurity or something. But me, it's like it's tired, and the tired covers up all the other emotions of being angry, of sad, scared, lonely, depressed, grieving, whatever it is. I'm like, and I'm just tired. Even when I'm hungry, and I'm just tired. I'm thirsty, and I'm just tired. That's my response to everything. And I know that when I'm like driving or doing stuff and I get bored and I'm like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm like, why do I keep telling myself I'm tired? I'm not tired. And then sometimes I am really tired, like I was this past weekend. But like my counselor mentioned, it's, chronic fatigue. And I was like, yay, because it's a coping mechanism. It's my trained response. That's how I deal with traumatic experiences. And when I have anxiety, which apparently I have a lot when I sleep, because I had a lot of sleep interruptions and some uncomfortable situations where I was awakened to uncomfortable situations. Not like the worst thing in the world. I don't remember horrible things happening, but it's never fun when the door slams open and the light gets flicked on in your face, and it's like, what? And it's the middle of the night when you're supposed to be sleeping. Nothing. Biological dad just wants to have the light on the door open so he can check on me and make sure I'm not getting in trouble while I'm sleeping. I'm not really sure what the point of that is, but I can't sleep with lights on and doors open because it just doesn't feel safe or comfortable. And it's like, you're making me stay awake because why? I don't know what that is. And so I think also in some part of me feels like there's some kind of punishment or something bad that's going to happen. So I'm like laying in bed wide awake and I get anxious. I have panic attacks, anxiety. And yesterday and today I had to wake up to alarms. And so last night I was trying to sleep and I tried to give myself plenty of time to sleep. And I probably woke up like every 2 hours and panicking because I was afraid I missed my alarm. I was like, oh man, it's been so long since I woke up to alarms. And so all of that anxiety just keeps me awake. So I'm like, well, I'm hoping between now and my next counseling appointment, if the next 3 weeks is I'm full of anxiety instead of tired, I'm okay with that because the anxiety will at least mean that I can work because I have too much energy and it drives me crazy. So then I have to do things and that will be good. That'll be a good way to start with my writing because I'm like, I have to write every day. I got to get this energy out of my system. I got to go to work. I got to get this energy out of my system. It will make sleeping a little bit harder, which will, again, continue that cycle of I'm tired all the time. But I think that's something I just have to deal with. But it was just such a relief. And I feel so grateful that it's like, okay, there's sort of an explanation that tired is attached to emotional trauma issues, nervous system in my body that makes me feel tired all the time. That is part of the reason why I struggle to be motivated and why I struggle to follow through with goals and why I struggle to do things in my life. And it's, that's something that can be worked through. It's something that's difficult to work through. But it also means that there's not something horribly wrong with me, that I'm not a horrible person because I don't have a lot of self-motivation. Like I want to have self-motivation, I just don't. But maybe that's why I've always struggled with goals and struggled to follow through with things. And it was just really nice for my counselor to point that out to me. And it was a relief to me. And it was something I'm grateful for because it made me feel just a little bit better about myself. Like there's finally an explanation. It doesn't change anything whatsoever. I mean, it's going to doctors and telling them I'm tired all the time and I'll run all the tests and everything comes back normal. They're like, well, you're just crazy or you have chronic fatigue and there's nothing we can do about that. It just has to run its course and it's just going to keep randomly popping up whenever it feels like in your life. So have fun with that. Not fun. Let me tell you, not fun. But it is kind of a relief to know that that's what it is. That's where it comes from. That it's something that I can work through. It's something that I will have to continue to fight. But it's why I have to fight so hard. It's why I struggle so much. And it's not because I'm a horrible person. It's not because I have really bad tendencies or want to do bad things. It's not because I'm lazy. It's not because there's something wrong with my personality. It's simply because that's how I coped with trauma growing up. That's how I coped or dealt with whatever was going on. Because that's how I was treated, or that's how I was left alone to be in peace, So that's also another thing to be grateful for, because all of those times laying when I couldn't sleep because I was too anxious or whatever, I started creating stories in my head. And now, after all these years of creating stories in my head, I started to try to write these stories, and they can turn into books that I can share with the rest of the world. So you can discover my fantasy world, my daydreams, my being the heroine in my stories, the different characters that are played out in my life, and understand that I'm like, this is what I did to deal with my trauma, to deal with being ignored or not getting the attention I thought I needed. So in a way, it was a blessing because now I have these stories that I can write, and I have people that are supporting me in my writing and wanting to help me figure out how to get my books published. And I have goals again, and I feel like by doing these videos, I can achieve those goals. And now that I understand why I struggle so much, it's like, okay, I don't have to beat myself up. I don't have to hate myself because I'm tired. I just have to remind myself it's a coping mechanism, and I have to be willing, which is very hard to do, especially when I'm really tired, to try to do some more journaling, to do some 12-step work, or try to do some self-counseling and figure out, okay, what am I being triggered by what am I not processing? Where do I have energy in my body? That's what my counselor like. Where do you have energy? Hang out with the energy. Focus on the energy. Let the energy take over the rest of your body. And I was like, oh, that would be nice. Doesn't always work that way. And then she's like, you got to get up and move. The more you get up and move, the more you exercise, the better you will feel. And I was like, and when I have no motivation, that's really hard to do. But I'm grateful that she was very understanding, that she's reminding me of simple things that I can do. And it helps me to not feel so bad about myself for not working this past weekend, for not having energy, for not always following through on things that I want to do, because I let the tired get in the way. And I'm like, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse. And I was like, maybe it's not just an excuse. Maybe it really is an emotional response, and it's connected to my nervous system. It really does make my body tired. It really does. My eyes close and I can't open them because I'm so tired. And it's not easy to process that, to let that go, to be motivated to do anything else when all I feel is tired. And I do know that as long as I get up and move around, I can have energy to do stuff. But as soon as I sit down and stop for the day, it's like, and all the energy's gone. I'm like, I'm just going to sit for like 5 minutes and get up and do something. And it's like, I can't, because as soon as I stop to rest, that's it. I'm done. Like, I can't do anything else for the day. And it's very frustrating to me, but it's very comforting at this point just to be validated in all of that, to realize that there is a reason behind it, and it's not a flaw in my system. It's not a flaw in my personality. It's not because I'm not capable of things. It's just because that's how I dealt with things growing up. That's my default response to everything I don't know how to handle. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with it, so I'm going to avoid it, and I'm going to go to sleep. I know that's not the right response, but that's my default response. Those are the default settings that I learned, that I trained myself to do growing up, that now, as an adult, I have to try to untrain my brain and my body. I have to tell it that I do actually have energy, that I did actually get enough sleep, that I can actually face things and do things and deal with things. And so I'm grateful that I can do that. It's hard. And so like, I have to face things because then I feel better, because they don't weigh me down. And since I didn't work this past weekend, I'm not mad at myself for having not worked this past weekend. I don't care. I figured if I slept for that many days in a row, I needed the sleep. It was probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing with the whole tire issue, which I still don't even think is fully resolved, because my stupid tire pressure light came on again today when I was taking my friend to the airport. I was like, oh. But again, I'm looking at all the tires. I think they're fine. I think it's probably because there's more tread on the brand new tire than there is on the old tires, which is probably why they want you to get two at a time so that they actually balance each other out. But I can't afford a second tire right now, so I'm just going to have to deal with the stupid tire pressure light and hope that none of my tires blow, and just trust that God will take care of that for me. But because I didn't work, I had to call some creditors that I owe money to, and change the date or the amount of money that I'm going to pay. And it was good. And I'm grateful that I was able to do that, because I just, they weren't happy that I wanted to do that. They're like, this could mess up whatever. And I was like, okay, but I don't have any money. And if you try to take the money out of my account on this day, it's just going to bounce. So it doesn't matter what it does. It's like, I just won't have the money before that. So I'm like, and I flat out told them I won't have the money, because it's due on the 20th, and I won't have the money until the 26th, because now I have all my other bills I have to pay, and I didn't work for 3 days. So sorry. But they're okay. They're like, all right, we'll do it anyway if that's what you can do, and that's when you can pay it. And then another one is a store credit card that I got behind on over the summer. And I don't like how they do stuff now. It used to be years ago, which was much nicer. Not that it was nice, but they would charge you the late fee, and then they would add so they would charge you the late fee for the next month, and they would charge you whatever your past due amount was, but they added it to your total balance, like what was due. So they're like, this is your balance. So they added it like it was a charge, like you charged it at the store. So now you have the late fee plus your payment that didn't get made, so that it shows like a past due amount, but then your total due is just, because they add it to the balance, the previous balance. So then your total due goes up a little bit, but it only goes up because because your balance on the card went up. But they don't make you pay 2 months of payments plus a late fee. And now the way they do it, they're like, oh, your payment was $40. There's a $35 late fee. So now it's $75 plus you owe $40 for this month's payment. So now your payment is $105. That's not right. $115. Like I suddenly, I didn't have $40 last month and now you want me to pay $115? Like seriously? It's a little bit ridiculous. And then you call them and they're like, okay, well, we'll take $50 off your balance. And I'm like, cool. But that doesn't change the minimum payment because you still owe us last month's payment plus the late fee plus this month's payment. So we still want the $115. In my case, the minimum payment they wanted was actually $203. And I was like, are you people crazy? I don't have this money. If I had the money, I wouldn't call you. And I was like, I don't have the money, so I'm calling to make a payment arrangement. Okay, we'll take $50 off your balance, but still pay us the $203. That didn't help me because I still don't have $203. So then I told them what I could pay them. And they're like, okay, well, what we can do is we can actually split it up into 3 months for you to catch up the past due amount. And then it's actually $10 less than what I told them I could pay them this month. And they're just going to take it out of my account. And then my minimum payment's going to go back to like the $30 or $40 that it was before the whole thing happened. And it just means they're closing my account so I can't use it anymore. And I was like, oh, darn, I can't use my store card anymore. That's okay. I will survive because now I can pay you the money that I owe you. So it floored me that their first response to that was like, well, here, we'll just take $50 off your statement balance, but you still have to pay. Like my friend had the same issue with her card, and if she hadn't explained it to me, I would have been like, if you just told me you took $50 off, why didn't my payment go down to $153 from $203? Couldn't pay the $153 either because I just put a tire on my car. But not that I wanted to pay that anyway, because that money was for something else regardless. But anyway, my friend explained it to me because she had to go through like multiple people with her credit card company before they finally said, oh, we just take it off the balance. It doesn't change the past due amount or the amount that's actually due. And it's like, well, that doesn't actually help people. I was like, I don't understand why they changed their system to this way. I mean, I guess because people haven't been paying, so they think if they keep adding up how much they're supposed to pay that's past due, that somehow it's going to make them more willing to pay or more willing to call them. But to me, it's like the higher that amount gets, the less likely I want to pay that bill because then it becomes more overwhelming and more impossible for me to pay. So it has the opposite effect for me. I apologize. My blinds were open and the sun is going down and I didn't turn my lights on in my living room. So I'm slowly getting darker because of that. If it gets too dark and I don't finish this, I'll have to stop and turn my lights on, which I should probably do. But anyway, I'm just venting about credit card debts. It doesn't matter because mostly I'm just grateful. I didn't care if they closed the store card or not. I didn't think they would anymore. I'm like, it went over the credit limit after the late fees and everything. And it was like, it was under the credit limit. And I now owe them like $200 more than I did before because of all the late fees and the past due balance and everything that they keep adding to my stupid balance. And it's like, seriously? Anyway, but I'm just grateful that it's like $10 less and they're going to take the money out of my account and that I should be able to make the money this weekend, which is why I have to go to work as soon as I'm done with this video. And I'm doing the video between going back to work because I didn't want to do it like when I'm really tired at 2 o'clock in the morning like I did yesterday. And I will be because I kept waking up every 2 hours last night. But I have a little bit more energy because I did some counseling work and I processed a lot of stuff and because I feel a lot lighter just understanding myself and why I am the way that I am and why I struggle with being tired all the time. And just honestly, somehow having an explanation is just a relief and it just helped me to feel better about myself. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I just wanted to share how grateful I am for that. And then I chose to talk to my creditors because I haven't worked because I've been tired, I've been depressed, I've been struggling, and so I'm behind for the same reason because I'm dealing with all this chronic fatigue because that's my coping mechanism, that's my response to all the trauma, the triggers, everything that's been going on in my life. And so I was like, oh, no wonder. Every time something doesn't go well, it connects to something else in my life that didn't go well, and the response is to be tired. So I don't like that default setting. It really needs to be removed. I don't know how long it's going to take to remove that. I don't know if I will ever get that fully out of my system. But if I can learn to get up and work around it, or recognize when it's a trigger, tired from trauma trigger something, versus tired because I actually haven't slept, or because I've worked really hard and done a lot of exercise. So, I've done a lot of emotional work over the last 96 days, maybe not a lot of physical work, but I'm grateful for all the stuff that I've been able to learn. And I'm really grateful that I remembered my counseling appointment today, that God just popped that into my head, like, I think you have a counseling appointment today. And I was like, oh crap, I do. Because I looked it up, because they're supposed to send me a text to remind me. And they didn't send me one for my last appointment. They didn't send me one for this one. So, and I've been really bad at not putting things on my calendar. So I'm grateful I remembered. And then today I went into my calendar and I put my next appointment on there, and I told it to remind me the day before, so I don't have this issue, because my schedule is flexible enough that I can just flip things to the next day. And now I have something on my calendar so that if people ask me, I'm like, I can actually check because I wrote it down somewhere. So a little bit of progress, baby steps of progress. And I did talk to my creditor, so that is one more thing that I am facing instead of running from. So as long as I can make enough money this weekend, I will be able to pay all of my bills that are due next week. So yay. And then I can finish paying my landlord whatever money I owe him, which will make him happy. So yay. And then hopefully by the end of the month, I will be caught up on everything. So except for my car payment. But they're working on me. They're working with me on that one. I'm just making extra payment. I make paying extra with each payment until it catches up the past due one. So I'm making the minimum car payment, monthly payment, plus extra. So I don't have to make 2 car payments in 1 month, which is awesome. But I'm only behind the 1 payment, and after this month, it'll be like half a payment or something. So by the end of the year, that one will be caught up too. So I'm getting caught up in my finances, which I'm grateful for, because I'm facing them. I'm talking to people about them. I'm paying attention to my money and where it's going. I don't like where it's going all the time. I don't always make the best choices with where my money is going. I'm trying to make better choices with it, but at least I'm at the awareness state. I'm paying attention to it. So then I can accept where my money's at, where the money needs to go to, and then I can start taking some action to change that. And so I started trying to do that a little bit today, and I'm grateful that I can do that. I'm grateful that I'm paying attention and I'm aware of how much money I actually have, and I'm grateful that I was aware of where my money was at and how much I had, so I could get a tire, and so I knew how much I could afford to pay when I was calling the creditors, or when I could pay them, because I know how much money I make every day. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the things that I'm learning, and just really grateful to know that there's nothing wrong with my personality, that I'm not a lazy person, that I just because, and I don't feel self-motivated, but it's because of something else, because of the chronic fatigue, because of the stupid default setting, and not because of me. So, I mean, I guess technically that is me, but I mean, that's something that I could change. It's a default setting that I could see. It's not like something wrong with my personality, something wrong with me as a human being, which I think I always thought that. I always felt that there's something wrong with me, or I even thought, the doctor should fix something because there's something wrong with me. It's not right that I'm tired all the time, and it's not right I'm tired all the time, but they can't fix it because it's something in my nervous system. It's a trained response to trauma, to triggers, to things that don't go well in my life. And that's what chronic fatigue is. And it's like, then they don't have an explanation for that, because nothing in their medical bills, experience can do that. They can't, there's no blood work that will come up with that. It just means that a person can physically get so tired because they're emotionally so tired that they just can't get out of bed. They can't function, which is what happened to me this past weekend. And I don't know what all that trauma was that came up, but I know writing in my journal the other night helped. And I know that my counseling appointment today really helped with that. And I'm still tired because I didn't sleep well last night, but I feel better. I feel emotionally better. about myself and where I'm at. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for my little vision motivation board because I got to look at that today. And even though I didn't read everything on it, it was just looking at it just cheered me up and gave me a little boost of energy. And I got to share that with my counselor. And I know she can't read all the stuff that's on it from through a video Zoom thing, but it was still she could see all the pictures and all the fun on there. So, which is probably the same with you guys. When I showed you last night, you can't read all the individual quotes and things, but you can get the general idea of what it is, the gist of it. So I'm grateful that I was able to do that, and I'm just grateful to feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more energy. I'm not saying it's a lot. I'm not going to go run a marathon or anything crazy, but I am a little bit more energetic, and I feel like a little bit more loving and gentle towards myself, feel better about myself. And I'm just very grateful for all the things that I have been learning and discovering about myself, even if it is emotional things or things that I don't necessarily like. At least I have an explanation for them. And it is amazing how freeing it is, how relieving it is to at least have an explanation behind something. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for how far counseling and studies and things have come to show, to understand why people's bodies do this. Because I know I'm not the only one that suffers from chronic fatigue, that has a default setting of being tired all the time. So I know I'm not the only person that struggles with that, but I'm grateful to know that I'm not the only one, and I'm grateful to know what it is. And so I have something to combat. I have something to work with, or to know that I'm like, okay, there's not a whole lot I can do. But I mean, in my case, I know I've done some 12-step work and some journaling and writing and things that I can do to work through that. And obviously exercise, walking, yoga apparently is really good. I have no motivation whatsoever to do yoga. My counselor keeps trying, and I'm like, I'm not interested in yoga. Send me a tape and I will probably never look at it, but thank you anyway. I might have to give into that. But then I mentioned swimming, and swimming is something I love to do, and she said that's very therapeutic too. Even just being in the water and walking in the water can be very therapeutic. So I'm like, dang, now I got to come up with money to get a gym membership so I go back to the gym and start swimming. Unless somebody has a pool I can come use, that would be awesome too. But I like swimming, and that's really good exercise, and it's therapeutic, and it's not overwhelming. And so something else for me to look forward to trying to figure out how to do. Maybe once I get my books published and make some money, maybe I should add that to my dream house to get me a, indoor pool out back or something that I can use, something, or get someone to come maintain an outdoor pool or something. I don't know. But anyway, I am just really grateful, and I have to go to work. So if you like this, you can hit like, subscribe, share. Hope this is helpful in some way, if nothing else, so that you know you're not alone either, and that you're not crazy, and that it's not a personality defect. It really is an illness. It's an emotional thing. It's a trained response. It can be untrained. It can be unlearned, I hope. And my goal is to try to unlearn that, because being tired all the time sucks. But it also means it's going to be a real struggle to be motivated and to do the things that I want to do or accomplish, because I will constantly be fighting the desire or the default setting to be tired and to just sleep through my entire life. But that's no fun, and I like to have fun. So I am going to move forward trying to have a little bit more fun and a little bit more energy, and I'm grateful that these videos help me to have a little bit more energy, and that doing things that I enjoy doing and facing things that I don't necessarily like but are required as responsibilities, that I feel better about myself when all those things get done. So I'm grateful for that too, and grateful that this video is over, because it's getting too dark for me to see me. So hope you have a great day full of gratitude. Thank you.